Welcome to the Estrella Damm Top 50 Gastropubs Cook Along. This year the event's going to look a little different, but it will be delivered in our usual style. Now joining us is head chef Sally Earbeer, formerly of the Harwood Arms, who's prepared a spectacular menu for us to eat this year. Sally, thanks for joining us. What are we going to eat today?
Thanks for having me, Nick. So we're going to have 3 courses today. The first course is a whiskey cured trout, which is going to be served with some shaved fennel and Cornish radishes, and then finished with a little dill oil and some buttermilk. Then the main course is going to be a pave of fallow deer, which is going to be pan roasted, served with a honey and beer glazed celeriac and a beer cream. And then for dessert, we've got a Yorkshire tea burnt cream to go with some lemon drop cakes.
Sounds fantastic. So what should we start with, the starters?
We're going to start off with the trout, yeah. So this is a lovely trout from chalk stream. And then I've got a mix here of salt, sugar, coriander seeds, fennel seeds, and then some citrus zest, so lime and lemon zest. So we're just going to put that on the bottom of the tray.
And you just made that up yourself with all those herbs and seasonings?
Yeah, exactly. So you basically just mix the salt and sugar together, and then you blitz up the seeds, and then mix that through with the zest, and then we're going to pour the whiskey over the top, because that's how we're going to get the most flavour out of it. So you've got a nice layer on the bottom.
Would you just add the fennel and zest to taste, to your own preferences?
So yeah, you probably want, if you've got a kilo of salt and a kilo of sugar, which would be enough to do a fair amount of fish, you probably want 2 tablespoons of each, about 20 grams. So you really want to make sure that that's packed in there like this. Covered all the way.
So that's going to draw the moisture out and...
Yeah, exactly. So you're basically curing the fish. So it's kind of, well, it's similar to gravlax, just without all the dill. And then to get the real flavour of the whiskey, you want to pour it on raw, and you're going to pour it on over the top so it soaks into the salt. So as the salt goes into the fish, the whiskey goes along with it. So you probably want about 100 mils of this. I'm just going to dribble it on.
You're going to pour it quite generously?
Yeah, generous. You've got to be generous with alcohol. So just like that, and then that will take about, for a fish this size, it'll probably take about 24 to 36 hours to cure. So you basically want to turn it every 12 hours and then keep checking the fish. You don't want it to get leathery, it wants to have still some juiciness to it, so you don't want to cure it too far because it will be quite difficult to eat.
Salmon's curing. What's going with the salmon?
So with the salmon, we're going to do a really lovely fresh salad. So we've got some fennel here, and then we've got some different types of radishes. So these are all from a little farm called Ollow in Cornwall. These are watermelon radishes. These are sort of mini moolies. So we're going to shave them on a mandolin nice and thin.
You could use whatever radishes you can get your hands on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are specifically winter radishes, but if you were buying radishes from the supermarket, breakfast radishes would be just as nice. It's just that nice crisp freshness of the radish that goes really well with the fish.
So how long have you been at the Harwood Arms now?
Just shy of 4 years, yeah.
Where did it all start? How did you get into chefing?
Into chefing, it's a bit of a weird one really. I kind of just fell into it. It wasn't sort of a lifelong passion, but I just really enjoyed cooking at home and decided to pursue a career in it really. So that's all the raw vegetables sliced there. So you're going to get that lovely aniseed flavour from the fennel, nice crispness from the radish. And then we're going to just put a little bit of olive oil on there and some salt. Give that a good toss. And then I've got some clementine segments here, which we're just going to mix through the salad. So that will give it a lovely sweetness, and it'll go really well with the whiskey. So then the trout, I've got Blue Peter style, some I prepared earlier. So this has been cured for the full 36 hours and then sliced thinly. So portion-wise, we weigh out 50 grams per portion in the restaurant, just as a good guide.
So how many portions do you think you get out of the cut that we just...
Out of that side, we'd probably get about 10 portions, because it will lose some of the water as it cures, so the weight will go down. But so we'll put this in the centre of the plate. Like this.
It's a nice, easy start to prepare in advance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, you know, and it's really, really good for if you've got friends coming over. If you're allowed friends over, you can get everything done beforehand and then just plate it up, and it looks really impressive, it tastes good. It's nice on life as well. I don't like to go too heavy when it comes to starters, because obviously you want to be able to eat the rest of the meal as well.
How about the salad? How far in advance do you prepare that?
I mean, the salad only takes a couple of minutes, but if you wanted to slice it in advance, you can store it in some ice water and it'll keep it nice and crisp in the fridge. So we've got the trout on the plate there, and then I'm just going to get, this is just buttermilk that we've just put in a bottle, and we're just going to swirl that around the plate just to give it a little bit of richness. Not too much, but just something to go with the fish. And then this is just a little oil that I've made from dill.
So you made the dill oil yourself?
Yeah, so you basically get 2 parts oil to 1 part dill, and you blend it in the blender till it hits 60 degrees Celsius, and that sets the chlorophyll, the colour of the dill. And then
you just use the friction in the blender to reach that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, we've got a really powerful blender in the restaurant, so just going to put these bits on top. So you want all the different colours in there. Right. And then make sure we get a few of these segments as well. So if you can't find, well, you should be able to find clementines at this time of year, but if you can't, you can always just use orange. And then just a few sprigs of dill to finish it off. And there we go.
Fantastic. So what have we got?
So we've got whiskey cured sea trout with a salad of fennel, radishes and dill.
So we started off with a beautiful whiskey cured trout, and what are we eating next, Sally?
So next up we've got some haunch of fallow deer, which we're going to pan roast, and then that's going to go with a turned celeriac, which will be glazed with honey and Estrella Damm, and then that's going to be accompanied by some Cavolo Nero and some red wine sauce, and then finally with a beer cream, so it's kind of like a cooked thin mayonnaise just to go with it, make it nice and creamy.
Packed full of Estrella Damm as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Should we kick off?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to start off with the celeriac and the deer. So the deer we're just going to season nicely. So with the venison, you want to make sure you've got a super hot pan. It's really lean, the meat, there's no fat in it, so it's going to cook really fast. So you want to sear it off nice and quick and then get it into a low oven so you avoid getting those sort of grey rings around there, which can often happen.
So you're just sealing it off with a bit of salt, bit of oil. Did you put any herbs in there?
No, I think the flavour of the meat speaks for itself actually, so I tend to just go with a bit of salt, to be honest.
When you took over the Harwood Arms, it was a Michelin star Harwood Arms, you retained that style. What was that like going into a Michelin star venue and having that pressure?
I mean, yeah, it's certainly a lot of pressure, you know. I think the best thing to do is just do the best you can do every day, and as long as you know in your heart of hearts that you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve, then that's all you can do really, isn't it?
So you're just sealing that now. What should we be looking for when we're sealing?
So you want a nice dark brown colour. So that's basically where you're going to get the flavour from on the browning of the meat on the outside.
It also seals in all of those juices, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually more of a myth, the sealing in of the juices. But the flavour is the most important thing. So it's called the Maillard reaction when meat browns, and it changes the flavour profile of it completely. It's the caramelisation essentially. See, that's all nice and brown now.
So nice and brown, you've got the heat going through it already, so it's got a head start in the oven.
Yeah.
What temperature going in the oven at?
I probably have the oven on about 160, 170. So I'm going to take it out of the pan just so it doesn't get too hot from the bottom.
And then how long are we leaving it in the oven for?
I'm going to leave that in for about 4 minutes, and then we'll turn it over and double check the temperature of it.
It's really quick to cook.
Yeah, really quick. So then next we'll do the celeriacs. So we'll get some oil in there. So these are basically just peeled and then just turned down into sort of, kind of looks like a bar of soap. And then they're going to go in the pan and we'll get a nice colour on them. Again, a bit of salt.
So what are we looking for on the celeriac?
So we're just going to get a nice, again, sort of golden brown colour on there, get that lovely amount of flavour in there. And then we've got this beer cream. So basically this is made like, similar to a mayonnaise essentially, but it's made with soft-boiled eggs rather than raw eggs, just so that it gives it a little bit more body, it's cooked and it holds better with a warm dish as well. So once that celeriac's got a nice amount of colour on, we can then go in with some honey. So a couple of tablespoons of honey in there. I'm going to let that caramelise. So once the honey started to caramelise, we'll go in with some of your beer. Just open that like a true chef. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to cover that with the beer, and then we're just going to let that reduce down, and in the time it takes for the beer to reduce down, it will caramelise and then the celery will be nicely cooked at the end. So
that was pretty much a whole bottle of Estrella Damm then?
Yes, that's the plan.
And then all of the lovely flavours in the beer will infuse into the celeriac.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So we can leave that to cook, and then we'll just get some cavolo nero on the go in the meantime. So a little bit of butter.
So this year we saw you on Great British Menu. Was that your first time on screen?
It was, yeah, first time on Great British Menu. It was a really, really good experience. Quite stressful, mentally stressful, just because you're out of your comfort zone. It's not your kitchen. You're not really sure what's going on. So it was really, really fun experience. I really enjoyed it.
Did you meet any chefs that you've always wanted to meet on it?
I mean, obviously having Paul Ainsworth as a judge was kind of a dream come true. I've got a lot of respect for him as a chef and as a person, so that was really nice. And then Niall Keating, who I competed with, we weren't friends before the show, but we've stayed friends afterwards, so that's actually been really nice to make a new friend out of it as well.
I remember your group was really nice. You were all really friendly with each other. There was lots of banter going on in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It just seemed like you all gelled naturally.
Yeah, it was actually. It was a really, really nice group of people, so it was good. Yeah, I was a bit nervous about who you were going to be up against in terms of, it's just nice to work together and enjoy each other's company, really.
So the brief was children's literature, wasn't
it? Yes, yeah.
How do you take that sort of brief and then turn it into food?
I mean, I think with children's literature, it's quite an easy one really, because there's so many food references in children's books. I mean, obviously we were the central region, so we had Roald Dahl as one of the authors that we could use. So, your imagination is your limit really when it comes to Roald Dahl. So we were quite lucky in that respect. But it's still challenging, and having to use different authors and go back to your childhood essentially and try and remember what the books. For me, I picked books that meant something to me, and my mum was a head teacher, so obviously, reading was a big part of growing up for us, and Roald Dahl was probably one of the most influential authors.
I think that sort of brief also reinforces the fact that food is fun as well, isn't it? It's not always serious. You can have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think food should be serious, to be honest. I certainly don't take myself too seriously, and anyone that works with me will know that, in our kitchen we like to have fun and enjoy ourselves, and it's food at the end of the day. It shouldn't be militant, I don't think. It should be enjoyable and pleasurable, and we have music playing in the kitchen, and yeah, it should just be a nice place to be.
So you're just cooking a cavolo and a bit of butter and salt there?
Yeah. Just take this venison out now. So just let that rest.
How long are we resting the venison for?
The venison, a piece that size, will probably only need to rest for 2 or 3 minutes. I'll put this near here. So this is the celeriac now. So the beer and the honey is reduced right down to a lovely glaze. So it's going to be super sticky, sweet, a bit malty, you know, the maltiness will go really, really well with the venison, to be honest. Just want to glaze that right up. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to plate this up now. So we'll start off with the beer cream. Get one of these celeriacs.
How do you work out what's going to look good when you're plating something up?
I mean, I think you've always kind of got an idea in your head of what a dish is going to look like before you put it on the plate. I tend to always put the meat on the right-hand side just because that's the hand their guest holds their knife in normally, so then they're not sort of reaching over the plate to just a bit of sauce.
What sauce do we have?
So this is just a little red wine jus. So we've got roast haunch of fallow deer with honey and beer glazed celeriac, beer cream and Cavolo Nero.
So Sally, on to dessert, what have we got next?
So for dessert, we're going to make a burnt cream of Yorkshire tea. So basically creme brulee. So there's quite a lot of dispute as to whether it originated in France or UK, but I think a lot of the history points towards it originating in Cambridge, hence it being called a Cambridge burnt cream. So we're going to infuse some milk with some tea bags.
So we've got Yorkshire tea there?
Yeah, so Yorkshire tea bags going in there. So that's going to give it a really nice English, British flavour. So we'll just bring that up to the boil and let that infuse for a few minutes. And then that's going to get mixed with some cream and some eggs and sugar, which we've got here. And then we're going to pour it into these pre-warmed moulds and bake them in the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes.
So what inspires your cooking then?
So I try and use as much produce from the British Isles as possible and things that, you know, are part of British heritage. So obviously English tea goes hand in hand with British heritage, and it tastes absolutely delicious in a creme brulee. And then going with lemon as well, it's just a really good combination because of the richness of the creme brulee with the acidity of the lemon.
Okay, and how else could you make a creme brulee different and more interesting?
I mean, we do lots of different flavours at the Harwood Arms, so we sometimes do it with tea, we sometimes do it with Earl Grey. It's really nice with honey, so we use honey from Ainhoe Park, which is where Brett keeps his deer, and we substitute the sugar for honey. We've also done chicory as well, which is it's a bit like a Marmite ingredient, chicory, but it tastes almost similar to coffee, but obviously coffee's not really something that's steeped in British history, whereas the chicory, they'd drink that in the war quite a lot. So yeah, I mean, you can do lots of different flavours. Obviously, in the summer you can do fruit flavoured ones or put a fruit compote in the bottom. Yeah, there's lots of variations you can do.
So how long do we infuse the tea for?
So we're just going to bring it up to the boil, and then we'll give it a minute to infuse. You can see that the milk's starting to change colour now, so you just want to get that nice tea flavour, and then it'll get sweetened up with the sugar. Okay, so that should be ready to pour off now. So we're just going to mix. So this is the cream. We're just going to mix that in there.
That's cold cream.
It's warm cream as well, yeah. And then we'll go over the tea. It's a bit hot, that. So we'll just strain that into there.
What sort of strength are we looking for when it comes to the tea and the cream?
So you obviously want a quite strong base in here because it's going to get diluted with the cream as well. So I've used 6 tea bags in there. If you were using loose tea, you'd want about 30 grams. So you just want to make sure that's all mixed together. You don't want to whisk it too fast because then you're going to create lots of air bubbles in there. So we're just going to pour it into the mould. We normally do 100 grams per mould. And I like to use a nice long flat mould so that you get more sugar on the top when you blowtorch it later. So we're going to go into the oven with those.
Yeah, how long for?
For about 35 minutes they take at 94 degrees at 100% steam. You open the oven.
So brulees been in the oven, they've chilled. How long were they in the oven for again?
So they take about 35 to 40 minutes to cook, and then you want to take them out of the oven and let them come down to room temperature and then go in the fridge to chill before we glaze them, just so they've got a nice set solid surface ready to go.
For about an hour?
Yeah, about an hour, yeah.
And then what do we do next?
You could always make them sort of 12 hours in advance and leave them in the fridge as well, they're not going to spoil. So the next thing we've got some little lemon cakes here. So this is made with some flour and sugar, and then you heat up the water and butter and pour that over the flour, so it makes quite a spongy batter, and then that gets finished with some lemon zest and creme fraiche. And then what we're going to do is just glaze them in this little lemon glaze here. So this is basically icing sugar, lemon juice and a little bit of butter and milk. So they just get glazed up and then left to set.
So do they soak up that solution, or is it purely just on the outside?
Yeah, so it'll sort of soak in a little bit, and then we'll set them up in the fridge. So
we're going to get a nice sticky, flavourful coating.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Nice and sweet and citrusy.
Brush off any excess. You could always do it on a little rack if you had one available. Like that. And then we'll just pop them into the fridge just for the glaze to set up. They don't need to be served cold, but just want their glaze to set up. So while we're waiting for that, we'll glaze the brulee. So you can use caster sugar. I like to use demerara sugar. I think it's just got a better flavour and it tends to burn a bit better. So you want to put more than you need on.
So you put quite a lot on there.
Yeah, so we're going to shake it all the way to the edges because you want the weight of the sugar to press in a bit, and then you can just tip off the excess like that. And then I always just run my finger round so you don't get burnt sugar all the way up the sides. So you've got a nice even layer like that. And then when we blowtorch it, we're going to start from the outside in because the heat will move towards the middle. So if you just focus on the outside, then the middle will sort of blowtorch itself. Like that, and then we'll just give that 30 seconds in the fridge for the sugar to set up. So those cakes should be set up by now. Perfect. Like that. And there you have it. So you've got the burnt cream of Yorkshire tea with lemon drop cakes.
Very nice, Sally. Thank you. There we have it, our 3-course menu for the Estrella Damm Top 50 Gastropubs list reveal of this year.